Hello. So, I just got back from church today. It was an interesting one. I was kind of distracted the whole time. I sat kind of in the back, and there was a bunch of kids and whatnot, and they're quite distracting because they're always making noise and shit. It's hard to focus on what people are saying, but still, nonetheless, some very interesting things happened today. So I'm sitting there towards the back, and I can see a doorway, to come in and out of where the service is happening. And there's a couple doors along the side of the wall, and for some reason I'm looking at this open door, and the idea, the scenario of an active shooter, all of a sudden I'm asking myself, what would I do if a guy with a gun walked in? Which I don't normally do that. I don't normally think about that. It basically never crosses my mind. But all of a sudden I'm sitting there at church thinking about, okay, if a guy walked in with a gun right there, what's my plan of attack, right? And so there was a door. It was kind of in front of me, and maybe 10 feet, something like that, in front of me. And then, but just even maybe 3-4 feet away from me, there was another door. So I just sort of thought, well, if a guy walks in through that open door, I can bust through this door that's closer to me, and he might perceive it as I'm running away, because that's logical if you bring a fucking gun, right? But then I can just very easily, quickly loop around and tackle this guy, right? Just run up behind him. So that I was like, yeah, if that happens, that's what I'm gonna do, right? And afterwards, I'm like, why am I thinking about this? Why am I, I don't want to fantasize about that kind of thing, but it just came, it just popped into my head. And as the service, this is about, I don't know. So basically the service keeps going, and 15 minutes later, the main speaker is up there, and he's got a lot of emotion in his voice, and he says that another church of the same, it's the same church, just another building, about an hour, maybe an hour and a half north. Somebody just drove a car into it, loaded with incendiary weapons, and shot people there, and burned the building down. And as soon as he said that, I was like, what? Okay. Immediately I started thinking about, what was I thinking about? What was that? Because what was seemingly me, being paranoid about nothing, all of a sudden gets justified. What on earth, right? What energy was I just tapping into? How did I know to be thinking about that at that time? And it the speaker up there was like, yeah, we got word of this, and we locked all our doors and whatnot, so somebody can't come in, which, I'm grateful that they communicate like that, but it had me thinking, what? So they're, what if they do attack this building? That became a much more real thing, right? And even when the service is over, what happens when we walk outside? Maybe they don't break in. What if they're waiting outside? Really what it made me think of is I need to stop saying it, and I need to get my concealed carry and carry a handgun with me. Not just so I can, it seems like we're headed towards this time when, stuff like that, there's some crazy people out there, right? And they're getting more bold. And that's kind of what I'm really feeling about that. I think a concealed carry is probably the best way. That's what I need to do, I think. But yeah, it really's got me thinking. It's got me. Well, it's just reinforcing this belief I have that in times of crisis, there's just knowledge that can come to you, like there's just action that can happen to you, you just can't plan for it. You can't, like, I think many of us know that the world is fucked up and there's all these problems, and when you start to think about how do we overcome these problems, it just, planning to overcome them just doesn't seem to work. And it's hard to, like, we're so far along in this plan that this, the opposition has, let's say, that sometimes it's like I don't really see a logical way that we can get out of it, right? But it's moments like right now that it just happened to me that I'm reminded that the plan, like, when I think back of how, when I started thinking about that active shooter scenario, before obviously I would never assume that a church is going to get shot up, right? But when I was thinking about it, I just realized, like, I had this feeling of, like, and it was creating this plan. Like, it wasn't so much I was planning, it was like showing me the plan. And I can see that now. It's just, I guess there was an emotion of, I don't know, I didn't really feel fear, I don't think. It was more like a protective thing. Because I immediately, I was thinking, I'm going to tackle this man, even if I don't know what I'm doing. I don't care, and yeah, it's really I'm gonna be thinking about that a lot, because the timing of it and getting that confirmation from the speaker, or like from this, and it's on the fucking news, right? Like, it really fucking happened, and I don't even know fully what to think, to be honest. But it really, I guess, all I can really, it's like our affirmation that, if something's gonna happen like that, specifically around me, I'm sure there are other men that are in similar places that will receive downloads in the same way that I do. But it actually takes away some of the fear, because even though I'm sure it would be scary if somebody drove a fucking car into the building and started shooting, like, it does bring peace a little bit to know that I don't have to plan how to handle that, because God or the universe or whatever you want to call it is just going to hand me the action, right? Like, and I've experienced that before as well, but in a less, I was at a bonfire, and so we were all sitting around a fire at night. We were in a fenced-in lot, and as we're sitting around the fire, some of the people that were there noticed. Well, we could all hear. There was a 4-wheeler that came down, like, it was on a dead-end street. A 4-wheeler comes ripping down the end of the street, and we decided to go talk to him. And he says, "Is there somebody going around the neighborhood terrorizing people, like knocking on their windows at night and whatnot, just like being a nuisance?" So this guy was like trying to chase him down, I guess. I don't know. I don't know if the police were called or not. I feel like I don't know. But after that, we go back to the fire, and of course that's on our mind. Like, we talk about that for a little bit because of how, like, oh, what, this is weird. Hopefully they don't come to us while we're all fucking drunk and high, sitting around a fire. Like, we don't really want to deal with some fucking crazy guy, right? And then we're, maybe an hour or two goes by, and then one of the girls that was there, she mentions, she like points over to the street, and there's like somebody walking towards the opening of the gate that we all came through into this lot, and they have like cradling their arms as if they're like holding something, and of course it's dark, so all we can see is their silhouette. And honestly, it looked like they were holding a baby or something. I don't know. It was just like immediately like alarm bells were going off, and I was sitting there after this ATV guy as soon as he left, we had like a big ass axe that we were using to like chop up firewood. So I just was like fiddling with this axe, and when this person starts walking towards us, I don't know, like in a very similar way as today. Well, in a much more real capacity, like not just a plan. Like I didn't have time to plan, like, but I feel it was a similar protective energy. I just got up, I just stood up with the axe and started walking towards it. Like, okay, well, we have to handle this, right? Like, or I have to handle this. And two of my friends sort of like, you know, I started walking. I didn't even ask anybody to come with me, but two of my friends that were sitting there, they both apparently thought to themselves like, well, he's going, we're not gonna let him go alone. So thankfully they did come with me, so it probably wouldn't have been as bad. But you know, I started walking over there, and we get really close to the. I mean, it's really dark, so it was hard to make out his face. You know, until we got pretty close, which is even more scary, right? Like, so we get close and start like, hey, you know, who are you? What's your name, etc. And he doesn't say anything, right? Which is even more weird. I fucking like take this axe and like get it into a position where I'm ready to strike, and then still I didn't really feel. I don't know, like when I had to raise it, I guess I felt a little bit of like, I don't know, like I don't want to hit somebody with an axe, right? But as that happens, he gets close enough and I can see it's our friend, right? And he's carrying his dog. It's like a little chihuahua or something, I don't know. But you know, I think back to that moment a lot, where in that time of like, it was certain, like, the person who came, we did not know he was coming. Like, it's kind of like those bonfires are sort of like an open invitation. Like, he was always welcome if the bonfire was happening. He knew it was happening, you know, but he just never told us he was coming. So obviously after this ATV incident, we're all like pattern recognition, right? Like, we're expecting the worst of it, and then so when it happens, it really put me in that protective state where like my body, like I just downloaded some like infinite confidence. It felt like I wasn't thinking at all. It was just walking towards like, okay, I'm solving this problem, which I was, you know, in retrospect, I'm super relieved to know that I am capable of being calm under that kind of pressure of like, you know, I didn't know if I thought this guy might have that, you know, my buddy, when he was seemingly a stranger, you know, I thought he could have a gun, but I didn't really care, you know. It was like, I have to go first, and I kind of like feeling that same way today when I was running through that scenario of like what to do, like in the case of an active shooter. And I think that applies to a lot of men. Maybe not everybody has had an experience where you have to act under like something dire like that, where, you know, thankfully my situation wasn't actually dire, but like I acted as if it were, you know, potentially life or death. But I think every man has that inside them. I mean, whether or not they fight it or not, I don't know you, or I don't know everybody. But it brings me a lot of peace knowing that like that kind of thing exists. And yeah, I don't know. That's just what I wanted to talk about. That crazy church experience. I don't know. It really makes me want to. After Charlie Kirk got shot, and you know, now Antifa is designated a terrorist organization. It's just, I don't want to say like, you know, like the biblical end times are upon us, but it certainly is like almost feels that way. that's kind of the vibe I was getting as soon as after I had this thought at church, and then we get a report that another church just gets fucking shot and burned down, right? Like, the vibe I was getting, like, oh yeah, it's time for me to be prepared, like way a little more prepared, right? Like, it would certainly be better than when I my plan of tackling this guy from behind. It would be way better if I could just whip out a pistol, and fucking put the guy down. If he starts opening fire, right? Like, that would be way better. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. I don't think anybody died at the church that I from what I understand. Reading the news report and whatnot, I think everybody's still alive, but definitely injured. A couple people. Kind of crazy. Just a lot to think about nowadays. Y'all have a good one.